Now, joining me is another expert, Professor Peter Collignon, an infectious diseases expert at the Australian National University. Peter Collignon, we've got Europe saying no, or not for older people. We've got the TGA saying yes to everyone in Australia. Can I just ask you, would you take this vaccine? Would you give it to your family?
The short answer, based on the data that's available on both safety and efficacy, yes, I would. I can quite see why some of the European countries have done what they've done. They've not definitely said don't give it to older people. They just say we would like to see more data, which is quite reasonable. I mean, we've got good data that shows it works, and it appears to be very effective across all age groups to stopping you dying and getting very sick and going to hospital. But the numbers are still relatively limited. All the what we call in vitro data, the data where you look at people's antibody responses and their white cell responses, which are very important because it's the white cells that kill the virus when it first hits you, and those antibodies that help knock it off and be able to kill it. All of that looks pretty good in the elderly as well. So there's no reason to think it won't do quite well in the elderly. It's just we do need more data. And one of the conditions of the TGA putting on the manufacturer is you have to supply more data as more data and more trials become available. So at the moment, yes, it looks like it works. Yes, it looks like it's safe. But with all these things, it's really important to keep on getting more data because sometimes you get unexpected results. But so far, that would appear to be unlikely. And also, as variants change, we've got to keep on analysing it to make sure it is working as well as we expect it to be working from the initial trials, which are often only on thousands of people rather than millions of people.
Look, I'm totally with you. It's true, the data is limited, particularly time limited. These trials were late last year, mostly. We don't have beyond that. We don't know long term its efficacy, whether it still works, any long term effects perhaps. Should any of this concern us, or should we say, look, the evidence so far is that whatever doubts we might have, it will work and it's better than the risk of taking the virus?
Well, I think that's exactly true. But we have a big advantage in Australia is that we've got almost no community transmission, or probably no community transmission. So we've got time up our sleeve. We can see what happens in all these other countries to see if we have to act differently or quicker. At the moment, the reality is most people won't get access to the vaccine, adults at least, until probably August, September, before the majority are really in a position to get it anyway. So while people have vaccine hesitancy, at the moment, I wouldn't worry about that. I think in the short term, meaning the next 4 or 5 months, the problem is getting on the queue rather than having people not wanting to get on it. We'll have much more demand for the vaccines than we'll have the availability to give it to people. So all this business about hesitancy,
I think spot on.
The more data that becomes available, the more I think that will go away, providing it keeps on showing what the data so far is showing. And there's no reason to really think seriously that will alter based on what we've seen so far and publications in the Lancet, et cetera, et cetera. So, yes, we need more data, but so far it looks pretty good.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, I tell people don't freak out. If you really doubt, there's plenty of people that will want to get in ahead of you in the queue for this vaccine, and you've got months to sit back and wait to see what other data comes. And by the end of that, I suspect you'll be wanting your jab too. I'm just wondering, though, if we do end up with a lot of people refusing to take the vaccine, how does it affect the rest of us?
Well, I mean, I think people have this expectation we'll have the vaccine and life will go back to normal. I think that's not going to happen for quite a while, unfortunately. I think the reality is we're going to have small outbreaks in Australia that we need to control sensibly. And I don't think total lockdowns is necessarily the way to go if you've only got small numbers. But we're going to have to live with the fact that this is going to come and go. While there's widespread virus around the world, it's inevitable that some of it will come back, particularly if it's widespread. As an example, none of the vaccines are claiming to give 90% efficacy at stopping transmission. They might be that good at stopping disease. But that actually means if you went to England at the moment, for instance, and you were vaccinated, well, if you're unvaccinated, 1 in 50 people might come back with it. But if it's 90% effective, which is probably better than it's going to be, it's still 1 in 500 people will come back with it. Now, if we don't want spread in our society of any degree, that still means there's going to be restrictions on travel and what you can do in crowds. So This is going to be a mix of getting people vaccinated as much as possible, because if we get them vaccinated, it means even if the virus spreads, we won't have large numbers of deaths and serious hospital admissions. But it does mean we're still going to have to do a lot of things we're doing now to some degree, I think proportionate to the risk, which I don't think we're always doing, for some time to come, at least till the end of this year. And I won't actually feel better about all of this until I see what happens next winter in the Northern Hemisphere. If they've got lots of people vaccinated and there's hardly any transmission of COVID, I will feel a lot better that we can markedly change and relax what we're doing currently.
Yeah, I just worry that you're an optimist. I don't know that we're going to be quite out of the woods until next year sometime. But look, let's see. Let's hope for the best. Peter Collignon, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you.